computer. If anyone has privacy issues, now's the time to exit quietly. The Global Action Team for the multiple district is made up of our district and multiple district global leadership team, our global service team, and our global leadership membership service. I always remember SML because at McDonald's it was small, medium, and large when I was 16. So it's service, membership, leadership. And so the three teams all have different things to focus on, but really here in Alabama, our biggest opportunity, the biggest issue that we need to address is membership growth and growing our organization so that we can serve more people here in the state. And so as we do that tonight, we're going to talk about new clubs, new members, new service, new leaders, and how that we can support one another in pulling those things together. My goal is for us to have a healthy discussion and also be finished about 7 o'clock. And if it runs over, people can check out if they need to check out, or if it looks like it's going to run way over, we'll just adjourn and we'll pick up the discussion next month. It's so important that we lead with service because that is our motto, we serve. And so as we begin to talk about things, we're going to talk about how the global service team can support leadership and membership through service initiatives. And then in order for all of us to support service, then we have to invite for a greater impact. We need more hands so we can provide more service. And finally, as we continue, we really need to leave a legacy. We need to leave our fingerprints on the communities throughout the state of Alabama. And we're going to do that by having leaders who will lead those service projects and think outside the box and have bigger and bigger service projects. And so that is sort of the direction that we're going to go as we begin the discussion. Any questions or comments about leading with service, inviting for impact, and leaving a legacy? Is that in the order that we as a group of Lion leaders believe it should be? Now, when you practice law, silence gives its consent. And so if you don't unmute and comment, I'm going to assume that you're shaking your head yes, because I can't see everyone's camera. And toward that end.
That's good.
You like that, Miss Linda?
I like it.
Let's look at the goals. And I took these off of what was put into the Lions Clubs International system. And so we have new club goals of 2 in A, 2 in B, and 1 in C. Now, A did not enter in the net member growth. B would like to be plus 25, and C would like to be plus 86 at the end of the year. And those are admirable goals. And I think that in A, we're probably shooting somewhere around that plus 50 mark ourselves. Another goal that was entered dealt with clubs reporting service. We have 2 that was at 60%, 60%, and 1 34C that their goal is 100%. And we're going to talk tonight about how that we can get some of that reporting done and how that we can help our district governors reach the goals, because the Global Action Team's middle name is Action, but we're here to support our district governors, our district goals, and to help them to all be successful. And in the area of people that we've impacted, that was not a goal that was set, that was required to be entered by Lions Clubs International, but one that we probably need to talk about a little bit tonight so that we can have a target and know when we arrive at the number of people that we're wanting to impact. In the area of leadership goals, 34A did not have any entered in on the Lions Clubs International system. 34B would like to train 8 of the zone chairs and half of their club officers attend training and have it logged in on the Lions Learn system. In 34C, they would like to train 11 zone chairs and 75% of the club officers trained and the training logged in on the Lions Learn Center. And so those are the goals that have been put in by your districts that we as a global action team are responsible to help to meet, facilitate communication, allocate resources, and do whatever is necessary to make sure that the 3 district governors this year have a successful year. Any questions about the goals or anything that the district's governors have put in dealing with district goals?
Does that mean that 38 or 30A, 34A did not put stuff in?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments about the goals? Because we're fixing to get down into some heavy discussion now. How can all 3 of us work together to help our district governors and district governor teams reach their district goals in the area of new clubs? Any ideas from you before that I share a few ideas and a few questions? How can we do that? Do we have enough guiding lions in the state of Alabama to support 5 new clubs, maybe as many as 6 or 7 new clubs?
No, we don't.
Pedro says we don't.
We don't in C.
I'm the only one in A and B right now. I believe Bubba may still have some time left in his, and that's about it.
And I'm not sure that we have any left in A. I'm not sure.
And understand that you can appoint someone to be a guiding lion that has not done the certification, although it's encouraged, and they can be appointed and then go back and do the certification and take the test. But how can we as a group take and increase the number of guiding lions that are available? And we talked about maybe having guiding lion training at the leadership conference, but it usually takes 2 or 3 hours. And that would mean that they would be pulled out of all the other learning opportunities if we did it at the leadership conference. So we did not. How could we host some guiding lions training, and how can we get enough certified that everyone is working together? Pedro has raised his hand, but you don't have to raise your hand. Just unmute and chime in.
Okay. Since we have the technology of Zoom that most lions are getting used to, I believe it needs to be an effort where we train all 3 districts at one time in a series of meetings via Zoom. When I recertified, that's what I did. I went online and I did it that way. It takes a while, so you got to break it down, but I think it's attainable. And if you have groups of people doing it at the same time, you can kind of push each other to get it done.
Okay.
The alternative to that, I think it would be to do it all at one time in person. And that's how Robert and I did it years ago. And our time has run out now, which I'm sorry about. And we need to both of us need to be recertified. When we did our initial certification, it was, like I say, years ago. I couldn't even tell you the year, but I know it was an all-in from all 3 districts. Everyone met in person, and it was a really fun, productive time, and there was a great turnout. And we were through in a half day. So.
Okay. And so I'm going to go back to past District Governor Mark, who is the multiple district GLT, and ask, can you put that on your agenda to talk with your committee about, and maybe figure out how to assist us in getting more guiding lions trained and available to support the new club growth?
Yes, and as Tracy said, when she and Robert were trained, we did one at our first district meeting when I was governor, and it was in person. And that was a plus because we recertified some people and got some new ones. But the downside, of course, is you miss part of the rest of the meeting that's going on. But getting back to in person is good if people are willing to come in, and that's where Zoom has the advantage. But I'll weigh that and see what we can do.
Okay, thank you. I think also as we begin to talk about new clubs, we're going to have to talk about building a team. Pedro does a great job in B, but Pedro is going to get burnt out because he needs some assistance. Here in A, we've got about 4 of us who meet on a regular basis and talk about new club extensions, but it needs to be more than 4 of us because Michelle and Mike McElhaney and Ron Siebold and I are the ones that generally that get together and talk about new clubs. What can we do to develop some interest in other Lions across the state joining the extension teams and the efforts and all of us working together? Any ideas there?
Would it not be a good to add the GLT and the GMT and the GST from each district to that extension team?
That's a very good idea.
That would get 3 more to the team. And I don't know that you want many more than what? Probably less than 10, no more than 10 or less.
Okay. And so that's a good idea. What else can we do?
I just want to share something that I alluded to at a cabinet meeting yesterday. And basically, most of the issues we're addressing is like a giant puzzle that has fallen apart and we got to put it together. And they all have working parts that we need to address as we go forward. Yesterday, I addressed the zone chairs, and the fact is, what Tracy was talking about, her and Robert, trying to get back to be a guiding lion, that's well and good. But what we need other people that haven't been involved to take up the lead. Otherwise, we go in this circle with the same group of people. So I think we need to keep in mind how we could start. Let's say, for example, it's almost like when you got 3 district governors and only one is going to be a council chair. Well, what are you doing with the other 2? Well, you got to come up with something right away to keep them engaged. We need to think like that when we're dealing with club presidents and with existing zone chairs. How do we engage them in the district to go ahead and try to get them as they come up? The cycle that we're caught up in now was actually working against us.
And I would like to follow up on what Pedro is saying. Yesterday, following our first district cabinet meeting, we conducted live zone chair training, and we had a really good session, but we had an element that I had not expected. And it elevated the training, I thought, to the next level. And what happened, quite simply, was that Pedro decided to stay over and participate as district GMT. And James Askew, who couldn't be, I don't think is on here with us today, he is our GST, and he is also serving as a zone chair. So he was at the meeting. So during the training session, we had the added benefit of having our GST and our GLT for the district there. And when we brought up subjects or went into areas, both Pedro and James Askew would weigh in from the GMT and GST perspective and explain the importance in different areas and how it impacted their service operation. And that just added so much to the program, I thought, and elevated it so much that I would encourage other districts, when you have your zone chair training and officer training, try to have your GMT and your GST there. It created just a diverse, unit for us to go in and talk about each of the areas, and it's important to the district. And I think opened up, some thought processes and paths that maybe the zone chairs had not thought about before.
That is a very good idea. Thank you for sharing that. And Mark, I don't mean to always come back to GLT, but the first two here are sort of GLT. What would the group think about hosting a statewide webinar on Zoom or GoToMeeting, maybe entitled How to Form a Club or New Club 101, and invite everyone who might be interested in helping with a new club extension effort to come together and sort of talk them through the process, and then let them decide if they want to be on their district extension team, and see if that might identify some people that otherwise we don't even know that are out there or might be interested. What do y'all think of those ideas?
That's essential. Tracy, Robert, and George and I, we had several Zoom meetings while we were trying to build up the Trustville Club. And that gave us communication. So by the time we met in person, we had addressed some of the issues that might come up, and we were ready to hit the ground running and do other things. So yeah, that's ideal.
And he's not on the call, so I'll volunteer him, Mark. I think that Ron Siebold does a good job of explaining the new club consultant, the process, and helping people to understand all the different things that you can do and be part of the team. And even those people that don't feel comfortable going and knocking on doors can be part of the team, either entering information, managing a social media outlet, or something of that nature. But if someone's making notes, I would say that if the GLT reached out to Ron in his health to ask him to, that might be a good person. But these are two issues here that we need to overcome if we're going to be successful in not only starting clubs, but keeping clubs going in the future. And as we continue then, how do we evaluate where that we need to start a club?
Well, I think what you said earlier about where we can cast our net as widely as possible to see who has an interest, and a webinar is a good way to invite people in. That would be, I think, primary, and the geography would pretty much depend on who came into the, get their toes wet.
Okay, that's a very good point. Find out where the interest, where the helpers are, and let's go to the helpers instead of trying to bring the helpers to a location. I like that idea. Other comments or questions, concerns about any of these three talking points? The last one here is planning for success. And I'm going to brag on Ron. Ron has developed a spreadsheet of every step that's necessary from the day that you identify a possible location to the date to the night that you have the charter event. If you don't have that, you let me know, I'll send it to you. And Pedro mentioned communication was very important to the success there at Trustful. What other things do we need to do better as Alabama Lions so that we're more successful in starting clubs?
Okay, I'll jump in. The issue of being successful or bringing club is synonymous with bringing in members. You just about have got to wear the Lions pin and anything that would identify you, because you just don't know when you're recruiting. People will see you. And so we need to sell the idea to the members that they need to be more than just a part-time Lion, that they need to always be looking to engage. And with that, I would say that if I come across somebody that might be interested in being a Lion but doesn't live in my area, I sure try to make sure that they go to the area where they live, so that we don't just stay with our area only. So we have to think in those terms.
Very good. Other comments concerning success?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes.
Chair.
Okay. I know you can't see me, and that's probably good, but I don't know why. I think Pedro is probably the premier example of how we recruit members and grow clubs. He's done such an excellent job this past year. We don't advertise ourselves enough. And maybe it's, I don't know if I'm not ashamed to wear my vest. I wear my vest. I don't have a cap, but I may order me a cap. But just like he said, we need to be seen, and we need to be vocal enough to be able to explain to the people that we are around what Lions do. I'm not sure they understand what we do or what we can do for their communities in a lot of cases.
Council Chair Bubba, that brings us to the fact that Lions Clubs International has the public relations grants, and this group here may want to formulate a plan of action and apply for a public relations grant to see if we can become more visible throughout the state. And so the visibility is important. I know I've ordered 2 nice button-down shirts from the LCI store, and I wear one of them or both of them every week to the office. And then wherever I'm at, it's got the Lion logo, and it's just a natural conversation starter around the community. Most folks know that I'm very involved with Lions Club, but those that come through the office or move to town see the shirt, see the emblem, and start conversations. And so that's important.
Jerome, the board of directors meets once a quarter, I understand, to approve these grants. So I would imagine that they will soon be meeting to approve this public relations grant if we apply.
The board will meet the last week in October in San Diego. So if we were going to put a grant application together, it probably would need to be in Oak Brook the first or second week of September to hit the agenda and to be discussed and vetted by staff and presented to the committee.
Okay.
And, they've got membership grants, but I'll be honest with you, we had $49,000 worth of membership grants applied for, and we have a $30,000 budget in Constitution Area 1. And so everyone was given 30% of what they asked for the other day when the membership committee that I sat on met. And so out of, let's call it 50,000, we spent 17,000 and told them if they were successful that we would advance more money. So we're almost out of the membership money. Leadership money, I was telling Mark earlier today, I applied on behalf of the state for our district governor and vice district governor training grant and have sent the link to all of the district GLTs for the zone chair training grant that's available. And so those are applies for, but then we've still got some other leadership opportunity grants. We've got the public relations grant. And of course, we've always got the LCIF if we have a service need or something. So there's money out there. We just have to figure out how to utilize it. And so this discussion around new clubs has been helpful. We've decided about guiding Lions and maybe trying to plan a new clubs 101 type course. And then we know what it's going to take to be successful. And that is a lot of communication and honest and open discussion. Then we come to this question of how do we add members to existing clubs? And as the global membership team, a lot of my discussion tonight revolves around membership because that's the number one opportunity that we as Lions have. And so how do we revitalize clubs with new members? And it's going to take all 3 of us again. Question, do some of our clubs need some special attention to grow? Do they know how to grow? Do they see the importance of growing?
I don't want to monopolize the time, but I'll give an example without using a name. I spent the better part of a year working with a club that said the right things. They want to help. They wanted younger people. They wanted to recruit. And so I took them up a task and showed up quite a few times in their city, which is a ways from my city. And I actually even was successful in getting members from a joining club to transfer over. I brought 2 people from another club. And then I found a brand new person moving into town that we had a connection because she was from Oregon and I lived in Oregon. So I got these 3 people that were coming in to help this club, this older club. But I'm sad to say they didn't mean that, because when the time came to go ahead and allow them to start doing the things that needs to be done to reach out to other younger people, they balk at it. And currently that club, I believe last time I looked, is sitting with 4 members. And so you can't take that horse to water and make them drink it.
Okay. So some of our clubs may need help in our opinion, but they're not willing to accept help. Lion Bubba, you had a comment?
Well, I think Pedro hit the nail on the head. Action speaks louder than words. And it may be that they know what to say, they just don't know what to do. And perhaps with the experience of lions out there who, I'll use Pedro, for example, and George Head, for example, they know how to recruit members. You know, if we had lines across the multi-district that we could use to go to those clubs and maybe just tell them that, you know, your actions are going to speak louder than your words. If you say you want to do it, then let's set a date and I'll come with you and we'll do it. I don't know another way to say that better. It's just things that they say the right things, as Pedro said, they just don't have any action.
Well, and here in this coming year with District Governor Michelle's permission, we're going to try a little pilot with Lions Clubs International that I've been talking about for years, but we're going to revitalize it, repackage and bring it back. And that is CPR, Code Purple resuscitation of weak clubs. But the first thing that we're going to have to do is ask which clubs want to volunteer to be in the pilot, because there's clubs out there that don't want new members. They're on life support. They know they're on life support. They've already signed their do not resuscitate. And all we're doing is waiting for them to age out and pass away. Those are the communities where we have to go and begin to form new clubs so the service impact isn't lacking. But understand that we're just going to love them like anyone else, and we're going to do hospice care, but we're not going to ask them to do rehab or anything of that nature, because they have no interest in doing that. So some of our clubs do need some special attention, but unless they're willing to accept it, it's not going to help any at all. My grandmother says you can't help somebody that doesn't want your help.
One of the other things that I've discovered over the years is those clubs like that, they have the one strong leader and the other ones just follow. And when that person is not able to continue, instead of them stepping up and helping their friend that they've worked with for years, they just give up and do not want to take on the role. And so the club dies. And so there is the danger of, you know, we always talking about revolving the officers and not just keeping the same ones over and over, because that's the danger of that happening.
Absolutely. And so one of our concerns is that some of our clubs need special attention. We've got to figure out how to get to them. What program or concept should we as a global action team be promoting within the districts for adding members to new clubs? What's your favorite program, and what do you think is the best way to encourage clubs to bring members in?
That's a
I'd
difficult
like
question.
vision screenings and eyeglass recycling. That seems to be where people really connect to Lions from the past and what are Lions doing today.
So leading with service would be what you would encourage clubs to do in order to attract new members.
I think that's a great place to start. If you can find a service that they all enjoy doing, perhaps they can attract other members of the community to join the club. They need to show some enthusiasm. You know,
Mhm.
the vision screening process that we do is probably a good place to start.
Okay. Now, Pedro is very good at just asking. If we could get 100 people to ask like Pedro asked, we would not have a membership problem in the state anymore. Pedro, in addition to just asking, is there any other programs out there that you like to promote?
I would like to get us to think back. We've heard this story many times. And I was looking for the paperwork and I got stuff everywhere. I can't find it right now. But it's that, I believe it's that California club, the SEAL, something SEAL club, you know, the one that kind of quit of advertising and went to service to be seen. You guys familiar with what I'm talking about? I made a copy of that and I read the whole thing. And I highlighted areas that I thought that maybe I could go ahead and work on. And I got to tell you, that really kind of spurred me on, gave me some ideas and basically a little bit of encouragement. I told the audience at the cabinet meeting, Lion Faye and I were like, well, we'll try to hang on to Margaret Club and see if we could do one more year. I mean, I told the audience, I know where you're at. I understand that feeling of desperation that you have when you try everything and it's just not working. And I encourage them not to give up and perhaps go back and try something you tried a few years back that maybe it didn't work then, and let's try it again and see if it'll work now. Because what I did was not a miracle. I mean, yes, I talked to people, but it was a combination of things that were not new. It was not something I came up with. So it's just a matter of trying to find a way to motivate you and those around you to go out and, you know, try it.
I like the membership growth events, and we've seen them be very successful throughout the United States. But Fort Payne brought in 11 members last year, and they were the #2 club in membership growth in 34A. The only one that beat them was the Coleman Club, because they made their Lioness Club a branch. And so they had a +30. But the membership growth event, and then Gulf Shores uses a similar concept down there annually. And so there's a lot of different ways that we can get clubs to do things, because it's not going to be one size fits all. We've got 120 clubs with 120 different personalities. Does anyone else on the call have a particular membership growth idea that you really like for your club, or you found successful in your club?
I'm going to have to stick with the service that has, for Prattville, has proven more successful than anything else we've done. I'll give you a classic example. When we were preparing for our 4th of July barbecue, a couple of weeks before that, we got a group of us together and we met at our storage shed to assess our inventory and check out our equipment to make sure we were good to go when the 4th hit. While we were out there doing that, the storage facility is in the park. And while we were there, we had several people stop by and just say, hey, what are you doing? They were walking around and, you know, they saw people with line shirts out there doing stuff. And we had one guy who was a former member of a Lions Club. And then we had several others who were just, you know, they may have known a line who they saw working, or they may have just been someone in the park, but they asked us questions. They asked us what we were doing. We explained. We invited them to come join us on the 4th or 3rd is when we actually held the barbecue. And we certainly invited them to come to a meeting. And a couple of them were, you know, quite amenable to all of that. And I don't know whether it'll come to fruition or not, but it was some great contacts. And we've had gotten several lines from our, you know, just from asking people to join in and help us on the 4th of July. So service and getting out in the community. If you meet every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, then you just all go to your meeting place and you sit there and you might enjoy good fellowship among yourselves and have a nice dinner and a nice program, but nobody sees you. Nobody knows what you're doing. You have to get out. You have to get out in the community and let people see you.
Tracy, the visibility is so important. And I'll tell you, at my club, the Moulton Club, we had a very successful strawberry festival back in May. And right after the next meeting was great, but we decided that we were going to have one night that we just passed out checks. And typically we've been inviting Camp Seal Harris, they come put on a program, we give them a check. Alabama Lions site, they come do a program, we give them a check. And we spread it out over some time. But we decided nobody was going to speak. We were just going to call the press and we were going to pass out about $8,500 worth of checks. The week after that, a group approached us and said, you do so much for the community. We've got this service project or fundraiser that we need a sponsor for. Would you sponsor it? And so the money could flow through the Lions Club to be passed out. From that, it looks like we'll pick up 4 or 5 members who are very interested and engaged in this, and it's going to be a tractor pull, but they've been engaged in the past and they know how to do it. I think they're going to join our club, and then all the profits are going to flow through the Lions Club to pass out the community because we were visible and we were in the paper passing out money.
Wow, great.
And so I agree with you so very much that the visibility is important. And Bubba commented in the chat box that we don't have to just pick one tonight, but we can take and suggest all of them and let clubs pick which one that they're most interested in. And right now, the GMT side, I'm going to chair that, and Pedro's on that, along with District Governor Charlie and District Governor Michelle. And so the 4 of us are going to develop a communication plan of how to work with existing clubs to get them to grow. But we will need some help, because if they choose to lead with service, then we're going to need the global service team to be out there with some hands-on, low-cost service projects that we can suggest to clubs to get them to be visible and vibrant and valuable to their communities. We'll also need some leadership training, because we'll need some people who know how to manage projects and plan and organize and things of that nature. And so the GLT is going to be important too. And so then we've already answered this question: how can the GST help us add members? We can promote service and bringing and making an impact on people. A few years ago, we talked about having an impact of about 200,000 people per year. I think that we have consistently been in that range. COVID probably had it dropped off some, but what do you think that we as a group should set our service impact goal to be this year? And then we'll just divide it by 3 and ask all the districts to do their part.
I wonder if in the past we have aimed a little bit low. Now, I realize that COVID had its impact on us this past year, but we're moving beyond that now. I think if we get excited enough about promoting service projects among 120 plus clubs in the multi-district, we ought to be able to reach easily 300,000 people. I mean, if we don't do, but I go down and cut my church's grass every week. We got a small church, but that impacts the membership of my church. I don't report it to Tracy. I guess I ought to start doing that, and I will start doing that. But that's, 25 or 30 people that just Bubba does. Multiply that times the number of lines who will be willing to participate and reporting service, and we can easily ramp up those numbers. I think we just throw that 200,000 number out there and we just say, well, I hope we'll get it, and we don't really push it. We need to throw a higher number out there, aim high, You know, if we don't reach that goal, but we need to try.
And only 52% of our clubs reported their service projects last year. So if we got that number to 75 or 80%, that would push our numbers well over 300,000. And then we could begin to shoot for 400,000. But Lion Bubba, will you and your committee have a discussion and try to come up with a number that everyone feels comfortable with? And I can tell you, as far as Pedro and I are concerned, we'll do everything that we can to support it and to help to get that done. Pedro, if I spoke out of turn for you?
No, but I was mulling on something else. Sometimes what you got to do, not only to get attention, but to get results, you got to turn things upside down. And I think what I'm hearing might be that we need to do something with those members that didn't show up to the cabinet meeting, with those members that are not going to show up at the training. We need to be able to reach out to Lions, there are Lions, but they are not actively involved in district. And it may be that we do a two-pronged approach on membership. And yes, we'll go after a new club, but let's identify a club that we can actually work with to try to get them doing 100% reporting, recruiting new members, adding service projects. If we do that in every district, then we start retaining some of the existing members. What do you think about that?
I would agree with that, Pedro, that we identify a club that we can target. We want to encourage you and inspire you and help you to report 100% of your service projects, but not leave it at that one club. Work with the multi-district, or in our case, the district. Work with the district to report, but focus on that one club and see what our results is with that one club.
And I got to tell you, and B, we got one that's woken up. And if you've been looking at the numbers, Silicaga's coming right along. And I was talking to Gregor a little bit. And it may be that we need to get them involved and have them tell us what they've done.
And that was a
because we need to get them engaged.
I mean, he came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What the two of y'all are discussing sounds a whole lot like the Lions Clubs International's Club Excellence Award. And if we could somehow get our GLT to begin to promote the Club Excellence Award and start in July earning it, so that next June 30th, everyone in the state applies for it, and we had 120 Club Excellence Award winners, what would that do for our state?
Well, it would make Frank happy. I know that.
Frank is important, and if you don't believe it, ask him. But the most important thing that we can do is put smiles on the faces of those in need across our state. And if we had 120 clubs that won the Club Excellence Award, that means that we're going to be impacting probably 400,000 people. It means that we're going to be bringing more members in, that we're going to be starting clubs. We're going to be developing leaders and entering their information into the Learn Center so that everyone begins to build their Lion resume. And so there's so many great things that we can do. And I'm going to leave existing clubs for a second, and let's focus on this club service reporting. I think that sometimes our clubs don't understand why it's important that they report their service. And so do you think that we should take a step back, as Pedro would say, and rethink this and try to put together some short videos that we could send out to our members that says, this is why it's important that we report our service, and give some concrete examples of how service reporting has helped us to maybe get a grant, or has helped us to get some recognition. I'll be honest with you, the Moulton Club, we impacted over 35,000 lives last year. And I'm not shy. That's going to be on the Facebook page. That's going to be in a press release to the newspaper. and it's going to help us to attract more members so we can serve more. What do you think? Should we maybe think about having some videos or some training on why it's important?
Videos are good, but like anything you do, you got to get them to watch it or to come to get involved. Human nature, unfortunately, whether we admit it or not, we always thinking, where's in it for me type, scenario. So when you're talking about reporting, obviously they like what they do and they like the service. I'm thinking the one example that we have right now that I'm trying to dissect is what happened with the Alabaster Leo Club and Lions Club, where they went above and beyond. They put together the band, they did a video, and they won an award, but they were not reported. So we need to address that. I would like to go visit them and ask them, because I don't want to guess. I want them to tell me, and that way we will know for sure.
Why couldn't the GSTs visit the clubs with these videos and say, hey, we want to make a presentation tonight and show you why it's important to report your service, and perhaps toss out some ideas on some service projects they could do? I'd be willing to do that. I'm committed to having our service reporting increase this year.
Well,
I think those are all great ideas. And another thing that needs to be kept in mind, this cropped up as recently as yesterday during our zone chair training in B. We have a little bit of an uphill battle and an issue to overcome with some of our clubs, in that they got very discouraged and frustrated with trying to report service several years ago when the platform was evolving and changing. Now, we all know, I think everybody on this call today, we've been around long enough to know that anytime that a new digital product is rolled out, you're going to have some hiccups, and it's going to be a journey or an evolution. You're going to, kind of start out, then it's going to have to be tweaked. You're not going to get the final product right to start with. And that's what happened to us with the My Line reporting. Personally, I think they've got it down now to where it's quite easy and not time consuming at all. And I don't have any problems when I go in now to report service. But because of the hiccups 2 or 3 years ago, we have people in B, one club in particular, and I won't call them out, but they do a ton of service. Everybody knows about it. It's well publicized, well organized, well executed, very profitable for their club, very visible, but they don't report any of it. And they'll tell you that it's because of the problems and issues they had a couple of years ago, and they didn't know that the platform was any different, and they don't have time for all that, basically, to put it the way I was told. So we've got to get the word out that and push the training for the little training video for My Line that's on the LCI website now, and encourage people to give it another shot, another chance.
And Tracy, Liz Husky, who with Lions Clubs International, her job is she's the product owner of My Lion and the reporting. She will be at the leadership conference next Saturday. So these clubs that they've got to complain about My Lion, they need to register, go, and have some FaceTime with Liz, and they will see how easy it is. Liz is there, and Richard Castillo, who is with the Global Action Team, will be there. The two of them, Lions Clubs International is sending at no cost to the Lions of Alabama to help us to learn about technology, learn about service, leadership, and membership from a Global Action Team perspective. And so if you don't mind, reach out to them and tell them that they need a couple people there, because the lady to complain to is going to be in Montgomery.
I'll be happy to pass that along. And one thing we did yesterday during the zone chair meeting when that came up is, hey, we just pulled up my line and popped it up on the overhead and pulled up, like we were going to do a new report, and we ran through it and, just, put some metrics, along and talked about each step of the way. And I think we cleared up a lot of misconceptions. So hopefully as the zone chairs go out into the field and go to their clubs, they'll be able to talk about this. And that goes back to what I said earlier. We had our GST sitting there weighing in and our GMT weighing in too. And so when we got to the point, service, for example, talking about why does service need to be reported, our GST was able to say, hey, this is why it's important, and this is what I need you to do.
Mhm. The other thing we found out during the grant last quarter was that if our zone chairs will be in contact with their clubs and gather the information, give to our district administrators can put in that service for them and make it a little easier until we then recognize them for their service and they see the importance of coming along.
Sure.
Other comments and questions?
Well, I'd like to follow up what Tracy said, and I know that Pete and Mark were there to see this. And Bubba, you would have loved this. We actually had an IT person with 34B working that cabinet meeting yesterday. And I'm proud that it's one of my lions. But when I talked to the governor, I told her his name was submitted before and nobody called him for the whole year. And I said, I will give you his name and he will do IT work, but you need to work him. And by golly, to Brenda's credit, she did, and he stayed the whole time. He's ready to go. He can't wait for the next cabinet meeting. And his wife is the new incoming president. And now at the last minute, she's going to sign up for the training now. So I'm going to have several people coming in. And this is what I talk about. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. I'm going through with my own club because now that you got members, you got to keep them active. But it's the combination of the other districts. You may already have had it. I don't know. But I'm proud that in 34B, now we got a working IT person that's going to be there at every function to keep us going and be able to bring the screen that I just stare at. I wouldn't know what to do. So that was a leap forward.
That's very good. And Bubba touched on this next question a little bit earlier. And so we're not going to talk about it because we're going to let the GST, when they meet, talk about this and figure out what is service. Is cutting the church's yard service that can be reported to Lions Clubs International? If I go and read a book to a kindergarten class with my Lions shirt on, is that service? Or should we only be reporting service when the whole club comes together and does something? I think that's a misconception with some of our club secretaries as well, that they think unless it is a club, 18 of us went out and picked up trash, I can't report it. And so that's going to take some educating too about what is service. And then we've already talked about determining what our goal is and what that impact should be. I guess the next question, that's a follow-up question here that has just come to me. Do we need an award similar to the Chandler Award for membership for service, where that we would recognize clubs for their total service impact or their service impact per member and pass out some awards at the leadership conference each year for service? Just a question.
I would say we do it first for reporting and then service. We got to improve that reporting.
And our time is almost up. Let me go through these questions so we can just think about them. And then we'll pick up and continue this discussion among the group in the next month. Zone chair training, we've talked about that for just a little bit. Officer training, we've talked about what the goals are, and we really need to make sure that those are happening. Reporting training on the Learn Center, I never figured it out last year, but I can get us someone from Lions Clubs International that will step us through that process with our GLTs at the district and the multiple district level, if that's what the GLT team would like or feels is necessary. And then our vice district governor training. And Mark and I talked about that earlier today. The Vice District Governor training is something that needed to be planned. And so everything for this year in October at Prattville has been planned. We've adjusted some of the classes so that Mark, as the new multiple district GLT, is going to teach some of those classes. I'll teach a few. Ron Siebel will teach a few. Lion Bubba, we would like for you to talk about the service journey and why service is important to our vice district governors, district governor-elects. And we're going to ask maybe George Head to come over to the courtyard there by the golf course and talk about LCIF during that weekend as well.
Yeah.
But these are some questions here that we need to flesh out and talk about a little bit more. In the next 30 days, I guess, if we can work on hosting that zone chair, build success calls and getting our zone chairs, at least on a phone call to talk with them about what we need them to be doing in order for us to reach district goals. If we can begin to work with our DG teams to fill the vacancies, Council Chair Pete, I understand that there's still vacancies on the district governor, on the district committees and the multiple district committees. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we have about 4 or 5 left.
And then we've got some zone chairs slots in some of our districts that are left. We need to see if in the next 30 days we can work and get help to get those filled. Begin to build a team to start a new club. We've got that going in A. Pedro in B. Y'all are finishing up Trustful. Have you already started working on a team for the next outreach?
We have already identified and projected a goal of a date for the canvas to start in October and for the club to be chartered the Friday night of our convention, district convention.
Okay. Then hosting club officer training. If that's not been done, we need to probably get that done. Attend the Alabama Lions Leadership Conference, and I'm going to encourage y'all to do that. I ended up with a conflict, and I'll tell you the 4-year-old grandson took priority over everything else. And if anybody wants to fire me, that's fine. But Henderson is where it stops for that weekend, as far as I'm concerned. And then finally, we're going to work with Pedro, Michelle, and District Governor Charlie to design a membership growth plan for the state of Alabama so that we can introduce this to this group. Questions, comments, or concerns?
One of the things that I would like to work on as a district administrator, and I'll have to discuss this with Tracy, because we didn't get everybody quite trained on the secretary slot, and we need to make sure we got the right people doing it. I would like to absorb that under my wings, because I got to deal with the secretaries anyway as a district administrator. So I would like to be able to train them, and then in turn, I turn them loose to start training others. So I think that would be a more effective way of using the administrator. So if that's okay with you, I'd like to implement that. I also brought up the idea that we do not have region chairs, but I will act in that capacity to bring together the zone chairs so that I can assist them also. So I'm kind of redefining the role of district administrator, since I'm already going to be doing a lot of that work.
Good idea, Saul. Can we get together, just the two of us, Pedro, to discuss that maybe one other afternoon or evening this week?
Sounds good. Sounds
Thank you.
good.
The GMT is going to meet the 3rd Sunday of each month. How often would the GST and GMT, GLT like to join us? You're welcome every 3rd Sunday to join us. And then Council Chair Pete, I think it might be good for the 3 multiple district leaders to get together occasionally and compare notes and make sure we're all in sync. Those are my ideas. Council Chair Pete, closing comments and thoughts?
Well, I like what I hear today. I'm glad we got so many great people involved here. We've got some good thoughts, good ideas coming this way. I like being able to disguise membership growth as service projects. I think that's a good way to hit it, because most of the people in my club, if you talk to them about membership growth, after asking people to come to the club, they're afraid of cold calling and being told no. They don't like that. So, but they have no problem with getting out there and doing service, handing out food, building ramps, stuff like that, and getting in front of the public there. And we've even had people join our club from just attending service projects or saw us out there. So I think that's a good way to disguise, like, for lack of a better word, membership action. And I like using it that way. Services probably it solves a lot of issues for us: visibility, excitement, and puts us out there. So I think that's a good thing to do, and attack it from that angle. And we get leadership, service, and membership all at one time. Because if you're out there on a service project, you're building leadership and you're developing leadership skills. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate everybody's input.
Thank you. Past District Governor Mark, closing comments.
I think the next weekend should be a very interesting weekend to see what the turnout is like and what kind of questions come out of that. I would like to be in on this GMT third Sunday. I think webinars are an excellent way to get the word out. And with service and leadership and membership, we've got some good brain power here, and I believe in crowdsourcing.
Thank you. Past Council Chair Bubba.
I was listening to Pete. I counted the number of times he said service. It was 183 times in that 2 minutes that he spoke. So you see my shoulders slumping tonight, but I'm guys, and ladies, I'm really encouraged. I really believe that service is a key to membership. And you had 3 words on a slide that you showed earlier: equip, empower, and encourage. If we can keep those 3 words foremost in our minds as we move forward this year, particularly with the multi-district GST, myself and the district GSTs, I'm committed to do all I can to encourage the club, to empower the clubs, and as best I can to equip the clubs to not only perform service and educate them on the service projects that might be needed in their communities, but also to report it. Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you. And Linda, past Council Chair Linda Starr has been so quiet. She is so reflective and takes it all in like a sponge. Comments?
I have a question. I want to know, when will the GLT monthly meeting be and the zone chairs? You said, I think the zone chairs are supposed to be meeting on a monthly basis.
Yes, at the zone chair meeting, Catherine Haggard has moved to the 4th Sunday of every month, which is supposed to be tonight. And then she sent me a message and said she forgot to tell them, so she'll start next month. Okay. And so the 4th Sunday night, but you'll have to talk to your leader, Mark, about the GLT meetings.
That's what I was asked that question to, is past District Governor Mark. Have you decided when we're going to meet? Because we used to meet on the 4th Mondays.
I'm good with that, and we've got Tracy here too. So if the 4th Monday is good, that's gonna fit in with me, unless that's one of y'all's club meetings.
The 4th Monday works for me. Thank you.
Okay. Do you like the 6 o'clock hour, or you move it to 7?
I prefer 6 o'clock.
That's fine with me too.
6 p.m. And let's take a look at that 4th Monday. Well, I don't have my computer set for that, but okay, 4th Mondays.
23rd.
An invitation also, Mark, if you would remind me.
Mark,
Of course,
23rd.
yes.
If you don't mind to invite me just as the GMT, so I can know what y'all are talking about, and then I can make sure that we support whatever your goals are. I would like to, but if you don't want me to do that, then you just send me the minutes afterwards, and I'll do it that way.
No, you're invited, and so is Bubba and Pedro.
And
Pedro, closing
we want
comments.
we want the CC in there too.
The closing comments has more to do with the club administrator role. I've been trying and searching. I haven't come up with anything. Have you come across anything that I could look up or download? I mean, I'm just making it as I go.
That's right. Each district defines the role of its club administrator based upon its needs. There's not an official e-training book from Lions Clubs International. And so you're doing a perfect job, but don't skimp on membership. I still need your help there. Lion Tracy, closing comments.
Thank you, PID Jerome. I'm excited about my year as GLT for District 34B. Got off the ground running yesterday with some good zone chair training. And we've got a plan to work every other Monday night in August to complete the zone chair person workshop from LCI. So we expect to stay on course with that and be finished by September. We have a plan in place to reach out and do some club officer training. So we have a busy year ahead of us, and we're eager to get started and keep rolling. And I appreciate my being invited and being on the GAT team. I've learned a lot just today in the hour that I've participated, and I look forward to working with everyone.
It is a team, and there's no I in team. And we're all going to join hands, and we have one goal. Lions of Alabama will be stronger this time next year than they are today. And so thank you very much for the time you've taken. We've went over 10 minutes, so forgive me. I'll try to go under 3 minutes for the next 3 months to make it up to you. But thank you so very much. And if you need anything, most of you have my phone number and my email. And if you don't, look in the directory. I'm here to help. Thank you so very much for taking your time with us this evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Until we meet
everyone.
again.
Good night.
Tracy
Good night.
called me.
See you Tuesday, Pete.